Well, the next step here is step number 20, and it's pretty straightforward. Let's grab our transmission half, and we're going to grab the cover portion of it now, which is this, and we're going to slide it on, seat it down. You're going to have to kind of wiggle it, and you can press back and forth on it until it slides in and fits together. Make sure that there's no gaps going around. Let's check and make sure that there's no binding. Anytime we're working with moving parts, we check for binding. Everything looks fine. And at this point, let's take this little plastic spacer, which is 80051-8. It's just a little plastic spacer. And we're going to slide it over the shaft and drop it down in. Now, let's take this plastic piece, which is 80078-2. You can see it's got 3 holes in it, and you can see these 3 holes here. Let's line those up and set this down in there, just like so. You can see the orientation of it. From there, we're going to take the aluminum engine mount, and the 3 holes on there line up with the 3 holes on here. And it should just pop right in. You're going to have to hold it together. Now there's 3 long screws. We're going to go ahead and insert from the back. You're going to need to put some Loctite on them because it is going metal to metal. So we'll put some Loctite on. I'm going to get one started here. Going to hold everything together for us, hopefully. We're not going to tighten it all the way down, just put it in till it touches. Let's follow up with the other 2. Put some Loctite on. Go ahead and drop those in. Those are the 3 holes that we're going to use. We'll tighten them up. Just like so. Now I'm looking through, and you can see that the screws are just coming through the plate here. Let's make sure that that plate is fully seated down inside of the plastic and it's not catching on there. And we'll go ahead and snug these up. We're not going to over tighten them because there's a lot of plastic in there, and we can do a lot of squishing if we really try to torque them down. So just make sure they're evenly tight all the way. Now there is an additional dig unit that Axial has that you can install at this time, or you can continue to build it just like we are here. Okay, we are now going to move on to step number 21. So let's lay out all of our pieces and parts, and it looks like we're going to build a slipper. Onward, step number 21. Let's build our slipper clutch. The parts we've laid out here, I do want to show you the 2 different slipper metal halves here. If you take a look, there's this unit here that has the little slot in it. Okay, and that is part number 30410. And then we're going to take a look at the other one, which is a thicker unit, and that is part number 11, which we're going to be using first, which is the thicker part. So we'll set the thinner part over to the side. First thing we're going to do is put the slipper backing, which is a little friction pad. We're going to place that onto, come on, focus. We're going to place that onto this side of the metal housing, not this side, but the flat side. Whenever we're using stickum, we always get a little bit of denatured alcohol, and I like to clean off any chemicals that might be on there, or mold grease, or whatever. Just make sure that our pad is going to properly stick on there. And you know, I'm looking at this and we have screws that have to go through this pad. I'm wondering how we accomplish that. Actually, they don't go through the pad. Never mind. They're just going to screw into this side. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here. We're going to peel off the, come on, little stickum sheet here. And put the pad onto the disc. Press it on. Next thing we're going to do is to align the gear up. You see the little top hat portion there? I'm going to set that through the gear, and we're going to look through the back here, and we're going to line up so that our 3 screw holes are visible. Hopefully you can see them there. And if you can't, you just keep moving it around until your 3 holes are viewable. At that point, we're going to take one of our little short and stubby screws, and we're going to put a little washer on there. Now this is metal to metal, and it's not showing to use any Loctite on this screw. However, I'm going to put just a very small amount on there. Very, very small amount. Line up our screw hole. Go ahead and screw one in so it's going to hold it. You can see we still have 2 more to go here. Grab a screw and a washer. Teeniest little bit of Loctite. We'll go ahead and install this. And I'm just putting them on until they touch. We'll get the 3rd one, and then we'll tighten them up in a little star pattern. Show you what it looks like when we're done here. All right. You want to feel on the back to make sure that you're not tightening them up too much and they're poking through the pad, which they shouldn't. But you do want to put those on until they're snug, but don't over tighten them. Okay, now this is what this unit looks like when it's done. This looks like an 80-tooth spur gear. You can change those out to your final drive ratio, whatever you choose later on, but we're building it by the book. Alright, now let's install this. What we're going to do is take a look at our shaft here. You're going to see that there is another little hole right down here. And we're going to take that second little pin that's so easy to lose. We are going to put it into the little hole there. If we can. Looks like we're going to have to use a needle nose. Just too far down in there for my fat fingers. There we go. Set that in there. Now we're going to take our second half of the slipper, second little plate. Going to note the alignment on the little slots there. Drop it down in until it fully seats. Then we're going to drop our slipper on with the pad down, like that. And then there are two separate different sized washers. We're going to take the larger washer and drop it over. You can see that it fits over the larger portion of the shaft there. You can see the washer right here. Then we're going to take our spring. Whenever I'm using a spring, how do you like that? Just drop everything right off. Okay, we'll put this back together. Whenever I'm using a spring on an RC, I always like to pre-compress it. And by pre-compressing, what we're going to do is we're going to take the spring and use a pair of pliers on there and pre-compress it. And that just breaks the spring in. Do that a few times and you won't notice any difference, but it's always good so you don't get a false first reading when you put them on. We're going to slide that over the top of the shaft. Going to take our smaller washer, which is somewhere here. Here it is. Drop that on top and then put our nut on. The little tool that comes in your kit is perfect for tightening that down. We just have to find it on our table here. And I'm sure that the book, it's not telling us here exactly how many turns to go in, but I'm just going to tighten it down a little ways until the shaft peeks out of the end of the nut. And we'll call that even for now and we'll readjust it later. So go ahead at this point and get all of your parts out for the next step, which is step number 22 in your manual, and we'll get rocking and rolling on that one.